Must I back announce?
Yeah, that's what we agreed on.
How is this takeover?
It's exactly what we agreed on.
Hey, no. That's I think one of the best songs to celebrate one of the hardly celebrated relationships, actually. Father and son.
Yeah.
And when he tells you, while you're still alive, you're my Superman. No, Casper has a way of choosing best collabos, man. I was even saying to you off air that it is this song, and there's one that he did with Langa Mavuso. Oh my goodness. Too tasty, man.
So I'm sure you recognize this. This is the second time you and I have ever done a co-broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
The first one was a very sad moment for us as the Kaya family. When Dr. Cindy passed away. And today, it's a celebration of a milestone. I mean, you've done a lot of things in your life, but you've also written a book, which I think is amazing, in my personal opinion.
Oh, thank you.
And so that's what we're here to discuss today. Tato, who produces the best tea, asked me what my favorite chapter in the book was. And to be honest, I don't have a favorite chapter. But if I were to choose which parts I loved reading the most, it has to be the second part.
Oh, part 2. Yeah.
Yes. So where you're speaking about yourself in relation to others.
Yes. You and others.
Yes. Because everything else is kind of inward. It's knowledge of self.
Yeah.
But with relation to others, you also have to then navigate based on what others are feeling. And you can never know that unless your communication is strong.
Yeah. True.
So my first thing to you would be, what made you think you had it in you to write a book that everybody wanted to read in the beginning, Jay, at all?
And I think radio taught me that. Never bring on air things that don't resonate with you. I felt the need to have had this book in my hands at least, whether be it before I go to tertiary or while I'm doing my matric year, or even before I could even say hello to a girl, you know. And that's why I felt, let me write it. But you see, the compartmentalization of those chapters came afterwards, long afterwards, because I just kept on writing. And until we sat down and said, no, man, there are parts to this. So, and we're not trying to equate each part, you know, like let's have 4 chapters of each part. No. Some parts are bigger than others. And that's how I got to it. And I'm glad that at least it came with a little bit of a format. You know, I could have easily said 3 parts like most people. Everything comes in 3s. But this time it just came to 4 for some reason.
How often do you write? Because reading the book, I could tell that you write very often and also pretty rapidly. I'll tell you why I say that. In this book, you mentioned things like Black Coffee winning a Grammy. That was just a couple of months ago.
That's right.
In this book, you mentioned things like Lekao's story.
That's right.
In this book, you mentioned things. Some of the things happened literally 2-3 months ago at most.
Yes. Yeah.
So how often do you write?
Every time I have a thought, I will then pour it into that, you know, either the pages or the Word documents on my laptop. And that is a time of reflection for me. But of course, obviously now with the book, I was very intentional in making sure that I set aside time to do that. And that will be when my wife is on air at 7. And then I'll say, can I use that time? She's like, yeah. So that when she comes back, I'm all hers. So that's when. And every time I could, even now, after doing a bit of a few launches and the conversations, obviously, from the book tour, and I realized then there's more. So I'm already starting to put those on paper. Whether it will be a book, I don't know.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
There's only one song that I contributed in this hour. And it's because it's a song that I think encapsulates what this book is about. Fortunately for me, you haven't heard this song.
Yeah, I don't know this
And this
song.
doesn't happen often because, first of all, you and I are both in the music department together.
Yeah.
You've obviously got more experience than me in broadcasting even. So whenever I try and put you onto something, you say, oh, yeah, I've heard this. Oh, yeah, I've heard that, you know. Fortunately for me, I found one that you haven't heard.
No, I haven't heard.
So listen to it carefully. And if you haven't read the book, it'll give you an idea what the book is about. And then we can have the discussion moving forward. Best Tea in the City, my top 10 at 10, a takeover that I'm actually going to thoroughly enjoy for the next easily 43 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That's your cool, Amarasis. You listen to lyrics now. Wow.
Frank Ocean, we all try. And you can't find this song anywhere. You can't buy it because it was part of an LP that he put out.
Yeah.
Freely available. And then obviously he had the fallout with his label and they took all that stuff down.
Oh.
Yeah. So we didn't have it in our archives.
Yes, we didn't.
I literally had to bring my own copy into it.
Ah.
Yeah. But I do think it speaks to all the different themes you try to hit in your book.
That's right.
And I want to speak about the things you actually didn't speak about in the book.
Okay.
I always draw lessons from where people have tried something and perhaps didn't succeed the first time. You have been married twice.
That's right.
To the same wife.
That's right.
What led to, I'll call it the failure of the first?
Yeah. I'll summarize it as immaturity, because if there's one thing we all agreed upon, the both of us, when we were starting our second half, was like, that's the first question we asked. What happened? Oh, we were so immature, because some of the fights, some of the misunderstandings could have long been avoided had we had the maturity of timing. We take for granted that something is bigger than us. When you are in a union with someone, that union is bigger than both of you. It becomes the institution by which you are governed, by which you live by. And maturity says, wait a minute, this is not worth the peace. This is not worth bringing down the very institution that we are under. Immaturity says, I'm bigger than this. I deserve better. And that's why most of the time there's this phenomenon that those who are in yearn to go out, and those who are out can't wait to go back in. And that maturity then shows you that. Like, wait a minute, man. I mean, come on. All these fights. And also, you also learn not to have easy conversations. Because one of the biggest things that we're never really socialized on, or at least inculcated on, was to have tough conversations early on. You know, have a tough conversation early on as a son, as a daughter. It's then easier for you to have a tough conversation with who you're going to share your life with. Even if they didn't have it, they quickly adapt and adjust to the fact that with you, the cards must be on the table. Because should that not happen, you're going to end up having an entail under the carpet. Why? Because that's where you're sweeping things, you know? So the first part taught us that. Right?
So before we get to the second part, in this book, you speak about how wisdom is applied knowledge, right?
Yeah.
The lessons that you speak about in this book are foundational lessons that I think you would have been taught at home from a young age in any case.
Yeah.
I obviously know you. I know that you've got an analytical mind. You speak about how you're actually a chemical engineer by profession.
Yeah.
So that's always been in you, right? What was impeding you then from applying that knowledge that you obviously always had?
It's how it is taught. You see, you know the carrot stick thing? Sometimes you end up trying to give the right answer as opposed to, being immersed in the knowledge or the wisdom that is being shared with you. So let me put it this way. We were taught with warnings as opposed to, listen, Sizwe, mamela, this girl right here, the minute you open her heart, you better make sure you are up for it. As opposed to, hey, wathitha le ntombazana yaba nomntana uye factory uyosebenza. So now there's this guillotine waiting to chop you down. And that is the impediments I'm talking about. The things that will actually just, halt you along the way of you trying to experience this thing life. So you end up learning from the streets. Because the streets are kinder. Because it's like boys, trying to teach each other. Whether what they are teaching you is right. But you end up having a council, so-called, of peers who kind of say to you, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that, come on, try it. And who knows? Try it could be a substance. Try it could be bad behavior, right? When back home, the very person who needs to say to you, wait a minute, I've made all the mistakes for you not to repeat. You know, hear me. It's not a warning. I'm not going to wait for you to make a mistake. I'm just going to give you those pearls now. And then when should you meet them along the way, you're able to run back. You can't help but run back to your father, man, or your bigger brother, or even your uncle if there's an absent father. You know, says, hey, and that for me is exactly why the book was necessary. So here is foundational knowledge, stuff that we should have just gotten easily, like we get music, you know. And then you is your knowledge, right? It's given to you as wisdom, but it's now your knowledge. Go and apply it. And now you realize, yeah, I know what you said, but I think I'm going to go about it this way. And now you're expanding on the knowledge.
When we come back, I want to speak about those distractions that come from the outside world, right? Because obviously you molded from the family within. And then they set you out into the world. And the world will then sometimes distract you or sometimes change you even. They'll remold you.
Yeah.
I want to speak about those distractions. And if you got any questions, please give us a shout right now, 086 00 00959. You can send us, do you do voice notes on the show?
Of course we do.
Yeah, 063 688 0959. It is my top 10 at 10, The Takeover. Uncle T is telling us about his book. And trust me, I read this book in 2 sittings. And it's only because he said in the book, don't read it in 1 sitting. I could have, but... So I sat down and I enjoyed it immensely. I'll tell you more about it when we come back.
The prelude to You and Your Choices, it was a conversation between you and Dumi. Dumi had asked you who you are, and what seemed to be an easy question to answer really, really had you in knots. It had you tangled up, and it looked like you really did not have the answer that Dumi was looking for. And I think for me, the question as we go through this open book, as we go through some of the parts, if not all the parts of the book, is did you ever get the answer? Were you able to answer that question? What was the makeup of your answer? So what are the different characteristics that you looked for that would then define you? I mean, right at the end of that think part of You and Your Choices, you replied and said, okay, Dumi, I get it. Here is what I know. We are all familiar with the expression, jack of all trades, master of none. And the lesson here is to be the master of at least one. You might be competent in many things, but without a doubt, you are brilliant at least one. And then we took a bit of a pause, and then you reiterated and said, have many interests, but think deeply. Master your one vision at least, and apply yourself fully to it. And if you can, make that vision the golden thread of all your other interests. So I think that is where the interest is for me. Did you ever truly, or were you ever truly able to answer who you are and what that looked like? You don't necessarily have to tell me who you are, but what did that look like? What was the makeup of that answer? And maybe it will help some of us answer that poignant question. Who are you?
Because that's the prelude to the book. Think. Dumi basically used to be the executive assistant to Dr. Ruel Khoza. Powerful man. Dr. Ruel was the chairman of ESCOM, I think, at the time.
Biggest exporter of avocados in the country, by the way, just in as a tidbit.
That's right. So this is the man who was basically, a think tank alongside one of the great men we have in this country. And I had to have that deep conversation with him. And one of the things that he also, made me realize is that sometimes we are pushed to a corner to give an answer right there and there because you're being asked. Like, in an interview, you're forced to give an answer. And some of the answers are really more of a journey than it is just a one-time thing. I'm still on a journey to try and find that and at least find a way to put it in words. And I even say in the book that should you struggle to answer that question, answer it in the negative. Who are you not? Because that kind of helps you to at least, refine it, Dumi in the book uses the example of an executive that was, interviewed for one of the carbonated companies, carbonated drink companies. And this guy's like, would you rather save the world or would you rather sell sugar? It's like, save the world. Say, why? It sounds like the right thing to do, right? And when you say sell sugar, meaning sell sugar in water, what do you mean? this is a carbonated drink, one of the biggest, in fact, the global players, and you're being interviewed. That's the question they throw to you as a CEO, right? And the simplicity of selling water and sugar is something that you can explain to a 6-year-old. That's the essence. That's the lesson there. If you can't tell it to a 6-year-old, then you still need to, refine it. That's the essence of it all. For me, it's not to give you answers or to ask you questions so that you can have immediate answers, but let it be at the back of your mind to start thinking about it. What I know is that I'm passionate about people, what they think. I'm really observant when it comes to that. I'm curious about what they feel and think. I'm also passionate about music. How do I put these two together? Look where I am, right? And when you're curious about people, you cannot be curious about people without trying to have conversations with them. And that's the book. The book then becomes the conversation starter. What's next? I don't know.
So again, if you haven't read the book, without spoiling it for you, I would characterize it in the following ways. It's about KOS, knowledge of self, right? Knowledge of your environment, and then knowledge of how you fit into that environment.
That's right.
So acceptance in a way.
Yeah.
Have you accepted who you are?
Oh, yeah.
Because doing that also then means all the negative attributes that you see within yourself, you've got to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
And knowing you, I know two things about you for certain. I know that you're very brilliant.
Thank you.
Right? But I also know that because of how you were raised and the humility in you, you diminish a lot of yourself and only exhibit that which is needed at the time.
That's right.
So why do you do that?
I think that's the whole thing. And I think Mama Miriam Makeba said it better, may her soul rest in peace. She said, the humble survive. Do I want to survive? No, I want to live, right? But I also don't want to lose the value, the principle, the attribute of being humble. Because in your humility, there's a lot of strength, right? She goes on to say, the humble, you may walk all over them, but when they rise, in that humility, you realize after you've walked over them that they are the strongest, right? And it is not even a diminishing thing altogether. It's about giving people space in my space. Because this journey, right? We are on a radio station right now. We are a sum of parts. Each part is important, right? Yes, there will be one or two that are lacking, but it is also our job for those who see it to say, wake up, come on, rise up, do this, you can do better here, whether they see it or not. And if they don't, the system immediately will say, okay, maybe I don't fit in here, and they will fit better somewhere else. You know what I mean? And that's me. As long as I'm welcomed, I'll play my part to its fullest. I'll give the brilliance because I know that, at least in this environment, works. At home, I'll also give my brilliance, but I'll also give my vulnerability because I know it's a safe space. Because I know the people around me can handle that, which then says to me, I have both accepted the strong and the weak. And that's the beginning of wisdom. When you start accepting that as much as you're strong, you're also weak. As much as you may be strong, that very strength may actually be your weakness. It's knowing how to oscillate and move between the two that will make you a better human.
And so then how do you hone the skill of being weak? Because essentially in your book, you also speak about how there's two sides to every coin.
Oh, yeah.
You also just mentioned it now, your strength can be your weakness. Your weakness can also be your strength.
That's right.
Right? And so how do you hone that skill of actually being weak? A lot of people are told how to be strong. That's very easy.
Yeah.
But how do you, and now maybe weak is not the word. We'll use the word vulnerable.
Yeah. You need to trust. Before anything, no one is out there to get you. People have their own issues, man. Come on. No one is out there to get you. But if we are in an environment, let's talk about our something that we both share, this work that we do. You will never survive radio if you're not open to criticism. Simple. It's the nature of it because it's a performance space. You're just like a soccer player. The day you think you delivered your best is the day you actually didn't deliver your best. It is the funniest thing. But if you're not open to that constructive criticism, trust me, meaning you're not vulnerable enough to hear your weakness. You're not trusting others enough for them to open you up to that side of you, to show you the flip side of your coin. Because when you see that flip side of the coin, trust me, soon you learn to hit the balance, right? To say, oh, so I tend to stretch it. And even when I don't stretch it, I do my best. Wait a minute, there must be a sweet spot, right? And that's how I think you hit that sweet spot. And for all of us, we are on a journey. And I like what you said last week on your show. You said that's what life is about. To find out what is
life is about peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
And the actual definition of life is just to find out what's in between.
What is this about? Right? And that is the sweet spot. We all are in search of that sweet spot. Some find it early, some find it later. You know? And some find it and are able to hold on to it through their journey of life. And you meet them. And one person who is an example for that, and I think should we put him on air right now, he'll disagree with me. Tebe Ikalafeng for me. That man has found work and play in one place. Every time he works, it's fun. You see it like that. And sometimes I tend to overlook it because I'm like, maybe I'm putting him on a pedestal and he might end up feeling like a Michael Jackson and Hanti behind closed doors, he's dealing, you know? But every time you speak with him, you're like, Mara Ikalafeng, how do you do it? And he will answer you the same way. I work hard, and every time I work, I play.
So now, what you've done is, I was going to play this next song. I'm going to have to skip it now because you've brought up something that I want to discuss and tackle deeper.
Okay.
How human beings, as they age, become a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, all things remaining equal,
yes.
Idealistically.
That's right.
A very good example, for example, is if you look at Oskido.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I observed the young Oskido.
Yeah.
And I'm by no means saying he was a bad person, but he was just a young person and he acted in a manner that young people act.
Yeah.
If you look at Oskido and what he's able to do now through his influence and power, you mention him in the book as well. For example, how he assisted Black Coffee.
Yeah.
You would almost never have said, looking at 1996 Oskido,
exactly,
that 2022 Oskido would be this man.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a lesson in that as well, right? The forgiveness and also just the perseverance, because whatever you're going through now doesn't define who you are.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It may seem like your choices are very limited.
We're on a journey of self-discovery.
100%.
So when you see Oskido today and we compare him to the 1993 Oskido, who didn't mind playing a gig for a tray of beer, to the shapeshifter that he is, and also speak about the people that were around him and the lessons he gave them. Anyone who was at Kalawa were told there's only one university that you should at least read from. And that university then was Facts and Fiction, now Exclusive Books. He sent everybody there. Go open those pages, because I am what I am today because I read what life is about. And there's also the measure of men and women. There's something about time that just brings wisdom, maturation, and the self-knowing, you know, to say, yeah, no, I'm not this, but I am this. Check what he's doing on TikTok. That will tell you this man, and maybe he's also wishing, maybe I should have done this 16 years ago. Maybe I should have been at this level, but that is futile. You are there now.
And so when we come back, I then want to combine those lessons that you speak about now, because I want to speak about the environment and how we will often condemn people based on their present without knowing what their offering could be in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Taking you to church on a Thursday. Eh? Langa Mavuso with Loiso Intlizio. It is 959. I almost said car drive, but it's actually
I was waiting for it.
my top 10 at 10, the takeover. We've got some voice notes.
I've been hearing like bits and pieces of your book and your interviews and everything. But I haven't been able to afford it for now. But I'm so interested and looking forward to getting it by month end. And I am so going to make sure that other fortnight I'm going to buy it. Because I feel there's a lot that I need to learn as my life has been just taking a U-turn all over and over again, especially on relationships and myself, introspection and stuff. But Malmeti, thank you for having that book and for writing that book. And I hope a lot of us will learn a lot from it.
Another one that caught me, got pause, was the chapter about Ahunanama. There is no meat. When you visited, you came from a trip, and then your friend picked you up, and then Belea goes Soshanguve to meet with his other brother, and the voice kept on saying, Ahunanama, Ahunanama. And upon arriving, the greeting was that, hey, and you went out to buy that meat for them, go KFC. But the essence of that chapter was that wanting to hear that voice, taking time to listen to that inner voice when it speaks. As you said, that you want to hear that voice again. So I too would like to also hear that one voice that says, go this way, do this way, Ahunanama.
I'm glad she brings that up.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, what does God's voice sound like?
The sweetest thing ever. Sizwe, you think you have a voice? My man.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain. Have you ever had, I don't know if you can handle coconut water or milk when it's nice and cold. There's something smooth about it when it hits the back of your throat, right? That's the closest I can get to defining how sweet and smooth it is. And that was the last time I had it. That's it. Done. Gone.
Because you also speak of no fear in that particular story.
Yeah.
Just contentment and understanding, okay, I'm being used as a vessel here.
That's right.
You speak about how you're
read the
very
book.
calm.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I don't play around. I'm not those people. When I tell you I'm reading the thing, I read the thing, you know?
Tata Malala.
Yeah. You speak about
No,
how...
not only on Twitter.
Yes, sir. So you speak about how you were very calm and you were tested multiple times.
Yes.
First of all, when you got there, right, your friend's brother already said, hey, that's
right.
So you can imagine those people are ready to start diving.
Yes. Yeah.
You then ask him to give you 20 minutes while you drive out. You knew Soshangova pretty well.
Yeah.
You went to school there. It's not a problem. When you get to the KFC, there's a queue.
Yeah.
Right? And even when you get to the front of the queue, you order buckets and they tell you, well, we need to actually just put the meat in the tray. So another 20 minutes more.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
4 lessons in patience.
Yeah.
And also, you could have given up at any time and thought, hey, guys, I was trying something. But something
failed.
in you told you to just...
Stay.
Yes.
Stay.
So tell me about that peace that you felt inside at that point.
Don't force it. When you feel at that moment, don't go. Or go. Don't fight it, man. Go. Do it. There's a reason. There's something in your body that makes you feel at that moment unsettled or settled. Just pay attention. Most of us, we do have a GPS always on. Always on. And I like the song you played because it says, even if you don't believe, you got to believe in something. Because even if you don't believe, you do believe that you don't believe.
Yes.
Right? It's true. So whatever it is, however, if there's one thing you've been given is all that you need. That's why they say the human body is the baddest machine ever created. Because it comes with all that it needs. It is that inner voice. It is that voice, depending on where you sit or where you stand. So just listen, just descend to it. Before we move on, there's a first voice note you played.
I was just about to get to it now.
Yeah. Let's get a number. I'll give her a book. And she can come collect it here at Kaya.
Okay. So, Matebogo, we will get you the book. You don't need to wait until month end, actually.
Why wait?
You will get your copy.
I'll sign it too.
We've got 2 more voice notes.
I love how you broke it down into the different parts. I know it's 4 parts. I think the first part is very important. I mean, they all are, but everything in life, whether it be successes or failures, it all begins with us and our decisions. I love the sell the fridge part. I mean, it's a chapter of sacrifice. And I love how you use Lekao, just the guy from Timbisa. It really hit home, the example that you made of sacrifice. And we all need to make sacrifices at some point in life, if not for our kids, for our loved ones. And we've all benefited from sacrifices. I think all of us, our parents can't raise kids without sacrifices. Oh, the chapter of do better than your father. I mean, even if you're a super dad, there's always that one thing he didn't do. He may have provided, but didn't listen to you. And I think all of us, our journey, our goals in life is to do better than our parents. And that's how we fix the human race, and more so our Black community. That's how we fix these communities. Stay happy. Another big chapter for me. I mean, it's like a garden, right? Nothing grows on barren land. And when we're not happy, we can't produce much. When we're idle, we don't produce much. That's why they say the devil's playgrounds are idle hands. And I believe when we're happy, when we take care of our mental health, when we take it easy, we forgive ourselves. It's through that healthy environment that we're able to produce greatness and we're able to live out our purpose.
The chapter that got me, it's actually in the chapter that you dedicated to me at the book launch at Exclusive in Sandton. All the best. It says, imagine the people who have not accepted the reality that not everyone will like them. They haven't yet accepted that they are both beautiful and not attractive, all at the same time. They haven't yet accepted that life will beat them up and raise them at the same time. They haven't yet known it is in their hearts that success, peace, love, harmony is when they end their day having experienced and accepted both good and bad, negative and positive, challenges and support, likes and dislikes. That is life.
So Michael Jordan has a quote where he says, I've never lost a single game. I just ran out of time. Right?
I love that.
And you can apply that to life as well, right?
Yeah.
Because it applies to the lessons in your book. Depending on the snapshots we take of your life.
That's right.
It could be at a time where you're down.
Mm-hmm.
It could be at a time where you're up,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we pass a judgment on that moment.
That's right.
Right? You also speak about how, well, the ethos of Ubuntu, right? You are because of others and a part of a collective.
That's right.
So what can we then do to get back to, and I'll use an isiZulu word, ubumbano, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
Was that Saul, by the way?
That was Saul.
It sounded like Saul.
It was Saul.
What a human being, man. I think, like Russell Zuma, one of the best finds this year. You know what I mean? Anyway, we need to accept that we are of a different system as a people. Collectivism, it is such a strong thing. That's why the enemy felt in order to rule and govern these people, divide them.
Conquer and divide.
That's right. So look at other societies. I love what the Muslim society is doing. I love what the Jewish community is doing. United. But who are we? We're not united. Go back to collectivism, because then it will already immediately say to you, and I use King Molotlehi of the Royal Bafokeng as an example.
Yes.
Let me go get, and when I get, right, let me manage those assets for my people. Less about me. Servant leadership, right? And it comes back to that. Dhlomo, what are you doing for the Dhlomo clan and those attached to it? Mokwele, what are you doing, right, for those that are around you and the extended, and so on and so forth? And then you'll soon realize that, hey, there's power here. Because individualism is actually the very, what's the word? Enemy of what we can do. Me, I want to be shining. I want to be the one that is shining, and him lo. As umuntu, it works against the very foundation of who you are. And that's why I'm saying, Tina sifundile, because remember, sifunde at the backs of who?
Of those who came before us.
That's right. To do what?
I guess
To be the hunters.
And also then bear that information for those that come after us and pass it down.
That's right. And it's important that we need to go back there.
Thank you very much, Uncle T. That's unfortunately all we have time for. But it's been
Thank
wonderful.
you for the takeover.
Thank you for allowing me to take over. Go out there and get the book Pause. And I think it'll be the first of many. I can tell you're not done. I can tell.
Thank you.